So I would pretty boldly say this, that if you sell something,
Yep.
there is a community of people that not just purchase that, but that their
Love
lives
that.
are affected
Okay,
by that.
that makes sense. Yeah, because my life is affected by my shoes.
Yeah.
But it's true. I feel like services and, coaching, consulting, businesses like that, we have even more to gain from it. But I do see what you're saying with the products, because you almost have a lot of products have kind of a cult following. Hi, everyone, and welcome to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are here today with Reade Milner, who is a marketing coach and consultant. So we're going to be talking all things marketing, social media, digital media today. So thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So I think this will be fun because I love marketing and social media. And we're a little bit different in ages. So I met Reade through his dad. So I actually know your dad, which tells you guys how old I am, because when you start knowing the parents of your guests, you're like, man, this is crazy. But I was really interested in talking with you and kind of learning how much you've done in the marketing space and everything. So give us a little background on you first, so kind of we know what you're doing.
Sure. So just the real quick from the beginning. I was very fortunate to grow up in a part of the country and in a part of the state that was just outside of Metro Atlanta, in the very beginning of rural Northeast Georgia. I grew up on a farm, so I grew up working, and then I was very, very fortunate. Was able to go to one of the top universities in the country. I went to Emory University here in Atlanta, and I even played college basketball at their 2-year undergrad division called Oxford College.
I did not know Emory had a basketball team.
It's a small school.
It's a great school. Yeah. Really great school.
Small school. It definitely didn't have the we'll call it like the glitz and glamour of like high major Division I basketball. It's not quite. It's close. It's close. But those guys I played ball with are still some of my best friends.
That's awesome.
And I learned more from my basketball coach. If he watches this, he'll know. I've already told him that I appreciate him for this. But I learned more about being a man, a professional, all those things than I did about basketball. So that's a wonderful experience for that. But it was actually when that chapter ended, I only played 2 years, that I was like, okay, I got to find a new obsession, because that had been all I cared about for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed business. You mentioned, my dad, and he's a business owner. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, started a business that I'm very proud of. And so that was something I was drawn to.
Yep.
So I started my first business when I was 20. When I was in college, I started it with, obviously no money and no idea what I was doing.
Yep. Like most businesses when we're 20.
Yeah. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I know a little bit more than I did then.
Yep.
But I knew that I liked the creative side of business and of entrepreneurship. And that, I was 20 years old. It was 2010. I knew that, social media, digital marketing had to be a big, it was going to make it. And I just knew that, right? Because it was the zeitgeist of the time, right? It was a few years after Facebook had come on the scene. Instagram, I think, may have been brand new at the time. Both of them had not yet been, gone public. It wasn't a mainstream business tool yet. Yeah, but it was obvious. And so I just dove into those things, and I started. And I'd done a little bit of experimentation with those things when I was a little bit younger than that with the family business. But I launched into it when I did my first business, and that actually led me to a role with a marketing agency in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I did a lot of Fortune 500 work there, which was a really great experience, but very, very different from the day-to-day concerns and challenges of a small business and of an entrepreneurial role or a business that's owned by an entrepreneur, right? That was great, but I loved the creative side, and I love the stakes of doing marketing and sales for a small business.
Yep.
Because for a large corporation, and there's nothing against this, obviously, a lot of folks, make their living working for large corporations, but it's about short-term, quarterly returns.
And they've got tons of money they can just throw at stuff,
exactly.
too.
And it can all be totally undone when a new director or a new regional VP comes into play. So when I started my own agency, I knew I wanted to work with small businesses. And I wanted to work with entrepreneurs because I wanted to have an impact that would mean something to them and their families.
Right. Okay.
And so that's what kind of, I guess that's the driver behind it.
Well, and I love that because big brands they have a lot of money. They've got great creative teams. They got a lot of people. But, a lot of those of us that have small businesses, we still need to market. And I feel like social media is the great leveler out there because it's open to everybody. Yep. Most of the platforms are free. You can obviously pay to do stuff on those platforms, but it gives you a chance to kind of get out there. When I started my business, my financial practice, it was well before social media, before the internet, all that. And I kind of joke that what would it be like to go back and restart my business? Not that I want to have a startup stage again, but just having all the tools and everything that's available to us now, because we didn't have that, 20 years ago. Like you mentioned 2010, but 2000, we didn't have any of this stuff. And so it was harder to get your name out there, get your brand out there.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a good phrase, right? The great leveler. And that's why I think you're seeing so many young entrepreneurs.
Yep.
I think there's two reasons behind that. One, it's because you're right. We have the internet, and that allows us to get a 20-year head start on what it would have taken 20 years ago, right? Because we can get our message in front of a lot of people, and we can happy to talk about this in more detail. But using a lot of these social media advertising platforms, you can get your message directly in front of the exact right person, just like that. And the other reason is it's a cultural thing, right? The Michael Jordans of this generation are Mark Zuckerberg and Evan Spiegel, and to a I guess a different extent, you get Jeff Bezos and these guys who we are watching, and young folks want to be like them more than they want to be like Joe Namath or these athletes.
God love Joe Namath. I like Joe Namath. Yeah.
Was that a good reference?
That was a good reference. You got it. My generation got that. For those of you guys listening in your 40s and 50s, we love old Joe. No, but it's true. You kind of do look up to the Zuckerbergs, and when we talk about marketing and getting your message out there, social media, we're all on it. And most people get on social because they want to keep up with their friends and keep up, my generation's keeping up with, friends and the people from high school and all the people you haven't seen in a while. But it's a great opportunity for businesses and for individuals just to build their own brand.
Right.
So I love the fact that it's age agnostic, if you will. So you can have people that are 20-year-olds using social, then you can have people in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Now, I do feel like my age demographic, so most of my clients are in their late 30s, 40s, early 50s, where I feel like we're at a little bit, not a disadvantage, but we don't really know how to effectively use social media. I think we're on social as opposed to leveraging or using it. Right. So what are us old folks doing wrong?
So, and I'm going to be very careful about how I say this. A lot of my clients have been in business for a few years. And social media.
That's code for they're older. Okay.
Social media is a newer thing to them.
Right.
So my generation, I really think I'm in the most unique generation in a long time because I grew up with the internet, not having the internet, but I grew up alongside the internet
and cell phones and everything like that.
I saw them all progress. I'll be 30 my next birthday, and so my first cell phone was still an old punch keypad phone, right? Mine
was a bag phone with it.
I was a little later than that, but we've got 8-year-olds that have iPhones now.
Yes,
right, and they'll
Mine
never
does
know
not,
a world.
nor will you if you're listening.
They'll never know a world without social media.
Right, it's true.
And so for those, we'll say that have been in business for a while, I have really enjoyed actually teaching. So a lot of what I do now is in that educational, consulting, coaching role.
Okay.
And so they do get an opportunity to rebrand from scratch in a way.
Yeah.
But they have the advantage of having an established business.
Yep.
And so they're just taking what all those years of experience and of great results that they've gotten for their clients, and they're able to then just display that and demonstrate that on social media. And it's like once they learn that, once they get comfortable with it,
right,
it's so exciting to watch them get excited about it, because it's like we've been looking for this. We've been advertising on billboards and in newspapers and in magazines, and it just got this decreasing return. And now you're telling me that all I have to do is turn the camera on and tell people what I would tell them in a client engagement, right? Or in a speech or something. I've been doing this for 20 years. Now I can just put it out there and get it in front of whoever I want to. Like, this is great.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I really do. And I love social. I use it a lot, obviously. But people are still, even with the clients I coach, a lot of them are still scared of it. Mm-hmm. You know, not the younger guys, but, you know, the 40s, 50s, there's just a scary aspect to it. Mm-hmm. What is that? Is it just because we don't really know what to expect, or what?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's a little bit of that I don't want to do something wrong on accident, which is, everyone feels that when you're doing something new. The other one is the perceived permanence of it.
Okay.
And I say perceived permanence. Now it is permanent. So I tell this to a lot of young people that are on social media. I mean,
if you are listening, my children, please note this. Yep.
Listen up. You cannot escape that stuff.
Yep.
I do still do some corporate engagements, and I'll talk to teams of employees. And I made the point one time, I said, there's no more difference between personal social media use and professional social media
Totally
use.
agree. Yep.
Does not exist, that line anymore. And so what you put out there, it does stick. That said, we'll assume that you're a professional.
Yeah. That is not the case for a lot of people's social media threads I've seen.
It's not. And so the next thing I'm going to say, know that I'm assuming you are a professional and you conduct yourself accordingly. Putting out content that is not perfect is okay. The attention span and the life cycle of an individual piece of content is smaller and smaller and smaller. So I'm telling my clients, get all the bad stuff, like get all the cringy, get all the nervous, shaky stuff out of the way.
Yep.
Because it will be buried under a mountain of great content that you'll continue to put out consistently, and you'll get better at it, and people will forget about the early stuff.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. So I think the more you do something, the more familiar you get with it. It's comfortable. It gets going. Yep. And the fact it doesn't need to be perfect is a big thing.
And it won't be. It won't be.
Yeah.
I have done, for years now, I've written blog posts, I've done videos, I have done all kinds of digital content, both for myself and for my clients. And I'm totally comfortable saying that I'm better at it now than I was 7-8 years ago.
Yep.
And I'm not as good now as I will be in 7 or 8 years. And unless you're a professional performer, I imagine that's the case for every single person who's going to use social media for their business.
And that's a good point to remember, because I've said this earlier. I've said this to Isaac, our producer. I feel like I want things to be perfect. And, you've got this set and this great, but a lot of times it is just a matter of just putting it out there. So many times people have no content, and I'm guilty of this. There's a lot more I could put out there. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, what's the phrase? It's that perfect is the enemy of done, right?
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Someone else smarter than me said that.
That's all right.
First.
I like it. We'll give you credit for it.
Cool. But if you look at some of the most, we'll call it just the most popular, or the people that are using social media the most effectively, your Gary Vaynerchuks, your Grant Cardones, a lot of other guys who made their name on social media. Their stuff is very off the cuff. It is very unrehearsed.
Yeah.
There's a lot there that you might say is a little unpolished, but they're just putting it out there.
Yeah.
And what resonates will resonate, and what doesn't, they're okay with it just kind of being a dud.
Well, and I like the fact that they're putting it out there. You mentioned Gary. I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan. I love his stuff. He drops a lot more F-bombs than me. I was raised in the South, so I'm not really cussing as much online. Yeah. But what I love, it doesn't offend me in the least. I mean, I have friends that, have salty language, but what I love about him is it's his authenticity. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that he's putting out content that he thinks would be valuable for you. Mm-hmm. And he's totally cool if it's not. Here's what I'm putting out. It may work, it may not.
I'll tell you the thing that he does, I think, better than anybody who's ever used social media for business purposes. He is so comfortable giving it away.
Yep.
with the he'll tell you with no expectation, but with the understanding that his brand will benefit for it. And that's something that a lot of my clients will ask me or will be concerned about. They'll say, well, we don't want to say this. We don't want to give it away. That's not something that we would say for free, right? That's something we'd talk about in a private client engagement. And I tell them, guys, it's 2019. If you're not talking about this, your competitors are. If you're not giving away that content for free, your competitors are. So you might as well put it out there, give it away. Because your value, your one-on-one value, and this is especially true in a consultative business or consultative sales role especially, your value, your one-on-one. And if that's not the case, you got some work to do.
Exactly.
We got to figure that out. We got to figure out how you can add value to a sale or to a product or service above and beyond what the product or service itself provides.
Right. I think giving away is the content is free. So we're going to pause for a minute. When we come back, we're going to dive into how we can all kind of take this social media and digital marketing to the next level in our own lives and business. We'll be back in just a minute. Hey everyone, check out my podcast, No Limits with Kristen Andre, on Tuesday nights at 7:30. We will tackle the things holding you back and the limits you set on yourself and equip you with some strategies to lead more intentional lives. Podcast launches every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on facebook.com/Andre Group. That's facebook.com/ANDREE Group. We'll see you there. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are here with Reade Milner, who is a marketing, digital, social media strategy person, guru. We won't say guru. I hate that word. Yeah, but anyway, all right. So before the break, we were talking a little bit about our friend Gary V. Not really our friend Gary. I'm open to new friends if you're listening, but his authenticity and kind of the way he puts stuff out there, it's just him. Like it's raw. It's not. I don't want to say not polished, but not polished. I mean, it's not like he's scripting things out, but he's honestly just going online and being very authentic to who he is and his personal brand and giving away as much content and free stuff as he can. So are we seeing the trend to that now?
Yeah, I would say the trend, right? Okay. Call it a trend, but I think it's one of those trends that has been, it's been in its very, very early stages of the soon to be the hockey stick curve, right? And it's the content.
Yep.
We'll call, I've called it the content arms race, which is, I think, a little, it's a little extreme, but I really want to get the point across that to be a marketer, and if you are a business owner, just like every business owner is a salesperson, every business owner is a marketer, every business person, every business owner, every entrepreneur is a personal brand.
Yep.
Know all those things.
And people don't agree, always think that. I always tell people I'm big on personal brand, and it is what it is. You've got one, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you might as well leverage it to your best effect, right? It can help you, it can hurt you. You might as well have it help you.
Yeah.
And that's where the content comes in.
Okay.
I am a big proponent of having you, the individual, be the creator of the content.
Okay.
Now, and I should specify, right? If you've got $100 million business and you're doing, I don't know, we'll call it like large scale B2B networks or something like that, and your brand really doesn't have anything to do with the end product. Okay, we'll leave room for exceptions, right? But we're talking about businesses that are driven by entrepreneurs and the business owner. Your personal brand is inextricably linked. In fact, in most cases, it is bigger than your business brand, no matter what you do.
That's how we're getting. I mean, you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, Lewis Howes, Grant Cardone, Rachel Hollis, all these people now that are doing so much content and everything. It's them. That's what you're buying, is them.
Yeah, and this has been happening for a long, long time, right? Like we've been using content to create brands for decades and decades. It's just that social media has put a rocket ship behind it because of the need for so much more, because of that short shelf life of content, and we'll call it the streaming the streaming environment of the Netflix and things like that. to use an example that I actually love these guys, I think of what's the couple, the Fixer Upper couple.
Oh yeah,
Chip and Joanna.
Chip and Joanna Gains. Yeah.
They had a TV show, a traditional TV show,
Yes.
but it was a content play.
Yep.
And I bet if you asked them, gun to their head, they would say, yes, this was an effort, or this was a branding attempt to help us grow our actual businesses.
Yeah.
And no one could argue that that's exactly what happened. They've sold books. They have
sold a heck of a lot of shiplap.
ton of shiplap. Yeah. I'm saying this. I'm really like being transparent in my nerdiness. Me and my wife love to watch.
Have you gone down to Waco?
No.
Because I know friends that have taken. Who thinks of Waco, Texas as a destination?
They put a city on the map.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, I'm sure I've never been to Waco, but I literally have friends who have gone down there to go to the silos and to their stores and everything. And I'm like, and instead of thinking, why would you go there? I'm like, oh man, you got to go see Chip and Joanna, because they are a brand,
right.
and they are
content.
stinking adorable.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that. Like, I just want to hug them.
I'll make this disclaimer: if you're a terrible person, maybe your personal brand is not the thing that you should be building up.
I think that's a good point, because there are people I have met, unfortunately, that are terrible people, and you should not brand yourself.
Yeah, you should hire.
You should work on being
else.
a better person.
Yeah, focus on that first. Maybe sell your business. Focus on that.
Yeah,
and let somebody else.
But if you have, all right. So how did, like, you're right. It started with a TV show, and they were. I feel like what started for them was they were both very likable.
Yes.
And they were both very real.
Yeah, without that, you remove the whole magic. And and that's what I know with my clients, I really try to find this. Like, what is it? And it's not always so overt.
Yeah.
Right? It's not always so, like, if we're using that same example, right? The Chip, the husband, is just like anybody would like that guy because he's loud and he's funny.
Goofball.
Yeah, he's goofy. Not everybody's goofy. Not everybody is loud. But you probably, again, we're going to now assume that you're a professional and that you're a good person, right?
Yeah.
You're a good person. You probably have something about you that if we can kind of pull that out and showcase that to an audience, that would resonate.
Yeah.
And so I've got a lot of clients who maybe they're not the most boisterous. Maybe they're not the most, outgoing. But, man, they've got just like a really interesting backstory. Or they've got like a really unique perspective on X, Y, or Z. And say, boom, that's it. Like, let's take that. Let's create some video around that. Let's create some written content. Let's do some audio around that. We'll build an audience of people that resonate, that your message resonates with, and your personality, and then we can use that to either to then sell stuff to.
And I think that's what's so cool, is because all the people that I mentioned earlier, they all have something very unique about them. Not unusual or not odd. It's just there's a likability to them that it almost draws you in. And at least, with some of the people I follow, I do buy a lot of their things. I participate in webinars. I'm in online forums and groups that I pay for. So I'm attracted to the brand. And the content that they have is very useful. I think it takes both. You've got to like the person or the brand, and you've also got to find some value in their content.
Right. Yeah, that's our third assumption, right? First assumption is that you're a professional. You conduct yourself accordingly. Second is that you're a good person. Third is that your business does something that's useful.
Right.
Right. Like, if you throw away any of those three,
you're in trouble.
There's going to be a leak. There's a huge leak in the bucket, right? If your business doesn't ultimately do something really useful, then you're just going to struggle, because you're going to have a lot coming in the front end, and it's going to all completely leak out the back end. So all of their businesses, if you break those guys down, they do something that the market really needs. They bring a ton of value professionally, and they take a commensurate compensation for it.
Yep.
Right? That's how they've made their money.
This kind of jazzing me up, Isaac. I'm kind of liking all this stuff, because it's stuff we can all do.
Yeah.
But we kind of hold back. So what do people, entrepreneurs, let's talk about somebody like myself, an entrepreneur that's listening, that has a business, and they're like, maybe I haven't been as visible as I should be. Where do they start?
Okay, go out and get a relatively new iPhone, Samsung phone. They all have
Samsung. What are we doing?
Well, I've got an iPhone.
I know, I'm an iPhone
I just
girl.
try to be inclusive.
Sorry, Samsung.
They all have top of the line cameras.
Yeah.
Like, better than you would have paid thousands of dollars for 5 years ago.
Yep.
Turn the thing around and start talking about what you do. Start giving tips. Start documenting. Gary, this is I know we keep coming back to Gary, but he talks about documenting, not creating. Meaning, get yourself on camera
Okay.
Or if you're not a camera person, I strongly recommend getting behind the camera or getting in front of camera. If you're not, create this in a written or at least an audio format. Demonstrate what it is that you do for your clients.
Okay.
Give away those tips. Talk about an experience, right? If your business isn't really inclined to, hey, here's some advice you can use in your business, just talk about what's happening.
Okay.
Right? Tell an experience. Hey, just got out of a meeting with a client, and they were facing this problem, and we worked through a couple of different solutions, and this is what we're going to do because of it. And I just want to share that with you because I thought that was interesting. Right? That's just putting out some content. It's probably going to land on completely deaf ears the first 10 or 15 times you do it.
Right.
But getting into that habit of documenting what you're doing, the popular phrase is documenting the journey, right? Which is, that's a little pie in the sky, but there's real world application for it.
Right. So, when you document, I like that. And you did mention it may fall on deaf ears. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get stuck. Yeah. They're like, I tried it twice, didn't work, gonna abandon it. And it, I was forced into, I'm saying forced. Isaac, our fantastic producer and Whitney, we were talking about this with me. They're like, you need to do more Facebook Lives. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I will absolutely do more. Let's write that on our plan, and I will start that next week.
Yeah.
So you know what they did? Got out the phone.
Just surprised you with it?
Yeah, said, we're doing it right now. And I'm like, but it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. But it got 1,500 views on it. And I was like, and now that was because I think Whitney was in it. When I've done a few on my own, they don't get quite as many. But so I feel like we get discouraged if we're not getting, Vaynerchuk and Cardone level views day one. So we try it twice and we say, forget it. So how long does it take? Do we just keep doing it?
It depends on how long you want to be in business and if you're trying to build a brand or not.
Forever and make a gazillion dollars.
Yeah. If you are trying to do, and I have this on my website, if you're looking for a get rich quick scheme, then don't, this isn't it.
Yeah. It's a longer play.
Yeah. Buy some, I don't know,
not
Bitcoin or something like that. It's going to have about the same effect. Right. I had this wasn't a client. This is actually a church. I'm a trustee at our church, and so they were asking me. They ask me some questions every now and then about like how to brand the church and stuff. And the pastor has a podcast, and they asked me how long I should do it, and I said, be prepared to do the first 100 episodes with nobody watching.
Okay.
And so I said, now
I think if I know that, then I don't have unrealistic expectations,
which is important.
Yeah.
Now they've gotten really good growth. Well before 100 episodes.
Okay.
But I wanted them to have that mentality going in, knowing that, like, look, we're just going to plan to do this for about a year, which is about the pace that they're on to get to 100.
Okay.
And then we'll reevaluate. And that, if you were to take that bit of advice, I would say that's the application, right? Is prepare to do something for long enough to really give it a good evaluation, and then just kind of put your head down and do it. And I would say if it's social media and content, you can't plan to do this for less than 6 months.
I think that's a good point, because we tried a couple times, like it didn't work. Same thing with networking, old school networking. I went to an event, didn't meet anybody, got no business, I gave up. But social's going to take, it's about engagement. It's going to take people a little bit longer to kind of catch on.
It's part of your business now.
Yeah.
Just this is your official notification that social media and branding are part of your business now. Whether you choose to participate in that is up to you. It is part of your business now. It is like the highway or the automobile.
Yeah.
It is here. I had a conversation with the business owner of a multi-generational business, and he asked me the question, it's probably in 2011. He said, when do you think these millennials are going to grow up and stop using the internet for everything?
You're like, once they buy out your business?
Yeah. And we were actually in a restaurant, and I said, look around the room. And I would say the average age of everybody in there was between 40 and 60.
Yeah.
So what is on every single table in this restaurant? Not in their pocket, but on the table.
Yeah.
He's like, cell phones. How many of those people are looking at that cell phone right now? Probably half the people in the room.
Yeah.
Right. And this is of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s. Currently, I promise you, they were not doing, they were not dialing the phone ready to do this.
To call somebody.
They were texting somebody, or they were looking
Yeah.
on social media, or they were checking their email on their mobile device, right? So all of these things, they are here to stay. So if you want to participate and you want to leverage those tools, then you just need to do it. You just need to do it.
I like it. I like it. So you heard that. We've been put on notice that it's here to stay. So we're going to take another break. And when we come back and wrap up our time with Reade, we'll talk about some things that you guys can do in your own business and with your own personal brand to get things started or moving at a quicker pace. Be back in just a minute. Hey everyone, it's Kristen. Be sure and visit my website at www.andregroup.com. That's www.andreegroup.com. And while you're there, be sure to download my white paper, Top 10 Reasons Your Business Isn't Growing Fast Enough. Now get out there and create your no limits moment. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are wrapping up our time with Reade Milner, and so we've been talking all things marketing, social media. I can't talk today. Good Lord. Digital media, all this stuff. So before we paused, we were talking about kind of getting out there and just getting online, doing stuff, doing some Facebook Lives and building an audience. So talk to me a little bit about the community you can build online, because I think historically marketing has been pushing stuff at them and not engaging, and where now we really need to move to engagement.
That's a good way of saying it. So for decades and decades, advertising was the term.
Yep.
Right. And it's still very much
Sure.
a part of what we do.
Oh yeah.
But it's not as much about broadcasting as it is about cultivating.
Okay.
Right? And maybe we'll call it like farming. Because
especially for services, like, I have a coaching consulting practice. I feel like for products like shoes, I don't really need a community to discuss my shoes. I mean, although I do enjoy discussing shoes.
Yeah, I could make the argument. I mean,
actually, now that you say that, we do discuss shoes a lot.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So I would pretty boldly say this, that if you sell something, there is a community of people that not just purchase that, but that their lives are affected by that.
That makes sense. Yeah, because my life is affected by my shoes.
Yeah.
But it's true. I feel like services and, coaching, consulting, businesses like that, we have even more to gain from it. But I do see what you're saying with the products, because you almost have a lot of products have kind of a cult following, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, if you look, there are a lot of, like Air Jordans, for example. I mean, there's whole communities. Meetup groups and all this kind of stuff. But you're right, especially in kind of we'll call it a service-based business.
Right.
And in the knowledge economy, right, the information businesses. If you can organize a group of people on social media so that they are looking for your information, they see you as an expert, and that they're able to talk to other people. So Seth Godin, actually, who's like a marketing, he's an actual guru. We'll give him the title. Yeah, he's an actual thought leader.
Yes.
Right? Everyone tries to be a thought leader.
We will give Seth the title.
He's one of like the 4 actual ones, right?
He has earned it. Yeah.
He wrote a book in like it had to have been early 20 teens, because I read it when I was in college, called Tribes.
Yep.
And he talks about and this was actually borrowed from somebody else. He gives credit to him. I can't remember though who it was, but he talks about the concept of the 1,000 true fans. Yeah. And that is in the context of music, actually. And so the original story or the original lesson is that if you can have 1,000 true fans, people that buy your limited edition gold record and your T-shirts, and they camp out outside of the ticket, booths to get tickets ahead of time. If you have 1,000 of those, you don't need 1 million casual fans. And the same thing is true in a service business. It doesn't have to be 1,000, right? You scale that number up and down. If you've got 10 true fans, right? Like people that you've changed their life, which if you're in this kind of information business and a consulting business, that's what we're doing a lot of times, right?
Yep.
I'm so moved by client stories that I've worked with, and they're telling me about how their business has grown, and now they've been able to get out of debt, or they've been able to take their family on vacation.
Which is so cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And so if you
they become advocates for you.
Exactly. And that's the end goal, right? Is you get these people, you create a community where they're almost evangelists for you and your business, and they're talking about it. That's creating more conversation. That's creating people who are just looking for you to tell them. And this is somewhat controversial perhaps, but I believe that people want to be sold. People want to be led. People want to be told what to do. And that's a hard thing to hear. But I mean, if we think about it, why do we create these rock stars? Why do we deify presidents and leaders of industry? We want to be told what to do next. We are we're dying for leadership. The world is dying for leadership. There's a huge need. There's a huge shortage of leaders. And so be a leader in your niche, in your industry, whatever that is, because people are looking for someone to tell them the right next steps and tell them and teach them how to do things. And so that's what I'd recommend you do, is figure out how to do that on social media. You can use groups on Facebook, which is a popular platform. It's a growing platform. I believe that Facebook's algorithm is going to be changing in the next, could be months, could be weeks, could be years. But there's enough talk where I'm confident in this that it's going to shift more towards a community-based platform rather than a one-to-many platform.
But I think that's fantastic because we're missing community. We're missing. I think sometimes social media and being online so much takes us away from people. Where if we can build, I'm in a group. Jesse Itzler, who is here in Atlanta, he has a Build Your Life Resume group, and I'm in his online group, and we have a Monday morning call, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's just, and the community and the support you see with each other, and starting to get to know some of the people in that group. I'm newer to it. It's been really cool. Like just the motivation and the support you can get online. And I
wouldn't be surprised if you told me that you got a ton of value out of talking to the other people in the group. Not just, but that
you get a ton from him, but you get as much from the other people.
And that community value actually builds his value as the organizer of the community.
Yep. Yeah, so. I love it. So, all right, so we're as we're wrapping up time here, I like to give a challenge to our listeners, something to do. So we talked about a lot of stuff today, whether it's just getting online or building your personal brand or pushing content out there. What's one step that you think people listening can take in terms of just moving this needle forward a little bit with social and digital marketing?
Sure. So I may zoom out a little bit more to what should precede any sort of marketing.
Awesome.
This is one of the first things I do in any of my consulting engagements with my clients is we get on a whiteboard. That's probably the first step. If you don't have a whiteboard in your office, go buy a whiteboard. Big one. Huge whiteboard. And then list out your main product, service, or your value proposition in the middle. And you're going to create a mind map, right, of all the steps and all the components of how to do that thing or how you deliver that thing.
Okay.
And then go crazy, build out as much as you can from all those little bubbles. And that is going to form the first list of content topics that you're going to talk about or create content for your blog, for social media, for YouTube, for podcasts, whatever it is.
Yep.
And you can stack those, you can organize them. It'll be very clear to you how they need to be organized once you get it out there on paper or on that big whiteboard.
Yeah.
And then start doing that. And another thing I teach in a lot of my consulting is how to take one piece of content and repurpose it into a bunch of other pieces of content.
Absolutely.
One piece of video, if you do a 30-minute keynote at an event or a 30-minute presentation, that's 5 or 6 shorter videos for social media.
Yep.
That's 4 or 5 blog posts. That's probably a premium asset that you can give away and gate behind a landing page on your website. There's so much you can get from that.
Love it. Love it. I think that's a great one. All right. So that's your challenge, folks. Mind map everything out there and put it out there. Put it as what you offer, what you're giving, and then map it out. See what it looks like. So Reade, thank you so much. I think we could have chatted for like hours. It's all kind of great stuff here. So we'll have to have you back for part 2, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. All right, everybody. You got it. Map everything out. And until next week, keep pushing past those limits.